The next thing that I would like to then direct your attention to is on page 170 in board book. And that is the CM contract. So a couple weeks ago, as I notified you in my weekly updates, Joe and I, in working with Eric Berg from Ogletree, Thorpe and Jenkins, worked through the fine details of the project, looking at some previous drafts, putting into particulars. And once we thought we had somewhat of a tentative agreement, I sent it off to both Mr. Cindy and Mr. Walsh, who serve on my advisory council. And then they provided feedback. Then we went back with Eric Berg and Joe and myself and worked out all those terms and revisions. And so what you see in front of you tonight is a multi, this is probably this is what I'm saying is the final draft, but there's been several drafts and discussions. I showed you the track version just so that you can see it. But this more or less will, it's an agreement with Nicholas and Associates to be our construction manager from 2016 through the 2018, summer of 2018, or when that work's completed. We've broken the remaining life safety work into 3 phases. Phase 1 would be the summer of 16, phase 2 would be the summer of 17, phase 3 would be the summer of 18. Each phase would be approximately $2 million. A majority of this work will be related to roofs, life safety items that we're dealing with on this side of the building, and then a few minor capital improvement projects, one of those being a new gymnasium floor. So those will be the items that we'll be addressing over the next 3 years, roughly $2 million a year. A majority of those items will be paid for with the life safety bonds that the board approved this past summer, with some of the money that was able to be saved off the current project from the capital development grant to help with some of the capital improvements. We will have to approve one more life safety amendment as we near the summer of 2018 for any remaining life safety items that we have not addressed and any remaining life safety funding. I would imagine that'd be in the area between 1 and 2 million of life safety bonds. What this agreement basically spells out Nicholas's percentage of construction cost. Exhibit 1 is a quick summary. I believe, Mike, if you can help me find that page.
It's not right after the agreement, Kevin. I thought it was.
It might not have been included. I can email that or include that back in.
Page 193 is the first page after the agreement. And
Yeah, the exhibit was.
That's DLAs.
I'll get I can get the revised exhibit to Mary Ann, but I can read that off of real quick now, because that's an exhibit that's a part of the contract. But more or less, Joe, do you want to speak to that? Do you have that in front of you, or do you not have that?
No, I don't.
Okay, give me 1 second.
We could start by saying, some of it is similar to before.
Oh, yeah,
You're
the
not going to
structure,
charge
the structure's the same, so
pre-construction.
it basically spells out approximate value of $2 million each year.
Are the percentages the same?
The CM fee percentage is obviously a little higher. This is a $2 million project versus
It's not always obvious.
$8 or $9 million. So it is a little higher. And again, this is based on an estimated construction value. So depending on what the actual scope of work is and how the bids come in, everything will be adjusted accordingly. Fixed general conditions probably won't change because that's based on a 4-month duration, June, July, August, September. So those will not change, but the CM fee, bond premium, insurance, all of those things will adjust accordingly.
Mary Ann, do you want me to email that to you or just read it to the board right now? Because I don't know if you'll be able to pull it up, correct?
Yeah, I don't think I could.
Okay, so our CM fee, pre-construction activities, there is no charge. Our CM fee for all 3 phases is 5.5%. Our current project was at 4.75 on 9 million, or roughly 9 million, so we're at 5.5%.
Is this what you're reading here?
For 2 million, yes, that is what I'm reading.
It's on page 193.
No, it's not.
No, that could be Tim Walsh submitted some final changes, and so the contract was updated in board book one last time with some minor edits. And so that was updated today, so that exhibit was probably let off.
Okay.
So Gary, you had a question?
Yeah, how can we say it's $2 million? It's a 3-year project.
It says approximately in the
Approximately $2
agreement.
million a year.
$2 million per year.
Per year.
Yeah.
Per year.
Right.
So it's based on 5.5
So that's
for each phase.
that's a $6 million project.
Correct, but his contract is based per phase. So he gets 5.5%. So on
So then
phase
are we
one, it would
only
be
approving
110,000.
First phase?
We are not. We are approving him to be our
So
construction
then
manager.
So it isn't being approved by phase, it's being approved by this whole contract.
Okay? And so that number's in the exhibit as well, so if you want to look for all 3 phases, that'd be 330,000 or approximately 110,000 per phase. And then the payment and performance bond is exactly the same percentage the board agreed to last time, which is 1%. So on a $2 million project, that's 20,000. On all 3 phases, that's a total of 60. Fixed general conditions, same exact wages that the board agreed to last time, $105 an hour for the project manager, $95 for the superintendent, $85 for the safety officer. So roughly about $99,840 for fixed general conditions. So-
I just logged into board book again. I don't see the exhibit here either.
No,
It
it's
wasn't
not
in
there.
It was in the old one.
draft, the first one that went out.
It was in the first one that went out. And the insurance premium percentage is 0.67%, which is the same.
Same. And we made it clear in there that it's the percentages that are, Gary, count. So if it's only 1.8 million, it's that percentage on 1.8. If it's 2.2, it's that.
No,
percentage.
the only concept here is he's got a fee structure based on an annual spend, but yet we're approving this all 3 years in this contract.
And I think you can look at it.
And that's all I'm saying, so,
No, I understand, but you can look at it also, this project that was just done was also done in 1 year,
yeah,
so.
yeah, just,
So the main difference is they're not at risk. They're still going to do all the contracts, hire the subcontractors and all that. They're not doing it at risk. We would take the risk on the overages and.
They are
again,
they are at risk.
We're at
I'm
risk
sorry.
without a GMP.
Yeah,
No
without,
GMP.
I'm sorry, I said it wrong.
Mhm.
And, again, structurally, the only rate that changed is their fee, which is, again, you could look at it either way. Actually, I made him clarify it. I thought it was an advantage to the board to make it clear that we're entering these contracts for 3 years, then we don't have to try to negotiate them again either. And we're happy with our our consultant and our contractor, and we've got it locked in, the rates and everything for 3
yeah,
years.
I know we were saying, it's, the annual, but it's a 3-year deal.
Right.
Correct.
His rate went up because it's based on those annual spends, not the overall 6 million.
Right.
That's,
So keep us happy, Joe.
yeah,
Wait, Kevin,
I'll
try my
I should
best.
have asked you in this but we didn't get the description of the actual phased work until the last draft here, and I forgot to ask one question. Wouldn't it, we're not locked in with it's 2 million a year roughly, but we can move pieces around, right?
Yeah,
Because
the
we don't
the
even know.
structure's open enough where it's all estimated, anticipated, based on.
The one that I'm concerned about is, it seems like the flood control might give us the biggest bang for the buck, and the tentative schedule is to do that in the 3rd summer. Because,
Well, the problem with the flood controls, we have to still approve an amendment that includes flood control to use life safety dollars and to go get life safety bonding. A
okay.
majority of the bonds that the board got approved this summer dealt with either life safety items remaining from the stadium, and then the roofs and the bleachers, the stuff that would be easily reviewed and approved by the State Board of Education.
Were you thinking about rolling it in earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously, fixed general conditions are always the biggest cost within the fee structure, supervision, management of the project. So, the more you can do under the supervision during one project, more bang for your buck you get.
I wasn't even necessarily saying still do 2 million, 2 million, 2 million, but instead of doing a roof that might last a couple more years,
Oh.
move the flood control
Okay.
up, because if we
Okay.
can avoid flooding the basement and the cost of cleaning it and damage we do, that, and we're not, roofs are an estimate. They might last another year, they might last another 4 years, right? So,
I think if all the board would have to do is we'd work with Carrie to just put together that amendment, approve that amendment, do the
Okay.
hearing process and submit it sooner, so then we could take out those bonds. The reason we were holding on those bonds was waiting for the 2017 to come up for refinancing.
all right. Well, there's other reasons, you gave it some other thought, that's fine.
So there's a motion on page 171. If we'd like to approve this tonight, if I could get a motion, we could have a first and a second, and then see if there's any further discussion.
Resolved, the Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois hereby approves the AIA, American Institute of Architects, agreement and fee structure between Township High School District 208 and Nicholas and Associates for the services of construction manager at risk with no guarantee max price for the remaining life safety and capital improvement projects starting in 2016 through the summer of 2018 as presented and discussed in the November 10th, 2015 board agenda packet.
Second.
Mr. Walsh first, Mr. Jepson second. Any further discussion for anybody? Then let's move on to a vote.
Mr. Gritchen?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Mr. Jepson?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Thanks, Joe. Joe, any other questions or anything for the board? With the superintendent and the project manager, well, you're the project manager, but the superintendent, the board got familiar, those that came by for tours or of meeting Jeff. In the event that Phase 3 is going on at the same time as Phase 1 of this new project, there's more likely that we'll have a full-time project superintendent?
Yes.
And if not, if we're just doing Phase 1, with these smaller phases with the roofs, is that someone that will be here every day or
I mean, right now I anticipate a full-time superintendent here for the 4-month duration either way.
Okay.
But as the scope gets defined, we can determine if we can reduce that. But right now I anticipate a full-time superintendent with or without Phase 3 going on during the summer.
And are you
And,
saying you want Jeff?
well, we'd like Jeff,
He's
obviously,
listed
but
in the agreement.
his language is clear that he'll try to provide Jeff, if not someone else that the board's designee agrees with. So I understand Jeff's working on some other bigger projects, but
Mhm. My
I just
intent
wanted
is
to.
to have Jeff here in the event that he cannot be here, then we'll sit down with
Sure.
who I would recommend and make sure we're on the same page.
Great.
Okay,
Thanks, Joe.
thank you very much. And we don't need to do the next contract till later,
We
right?
could do the next one later, or we can knock
Yeah.
that out now. It's up
Let's
to
do
you.
it later.
Okay.
Should we go back to,
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
You don't want to do it.
Good night,
Have a
Joe.
good evening.
should we go back to, get back on track with the staffing and enrollment projections?
Sure. Give me a minute to find the page.
That
And
would be-
the board, that CM fee structure was in the original copy that was sent out to the board, and so I'll have Mary Ann post that first thing in the morning. When we made some minor edits last night, and they were all strictly just typos and clerical errors, I don't think when he sent back that contract, I just forwarded it to Mary Ann to amend the board packet, and that copy did not include the fee structure, so I'll have that resubmitted. It will be posted first thing in the morning, and I'll also send it via email.